Welcome back, guys, to another video, and today's video is going to be another console memories, because as of 4/20/2016, Microsoft has ceased production on the Xbox 360. Now, the Xbox 360 is still kicking it, but it is looking over the horizons and it's counting its last days. So I thought, what better way for me to talk about my memories of this console. It was my favorite console out of that generation. I absolutely loved it. And you know, I went through my game collection, I grabbed a couple of them, and I'm like, man, I'm going to talk about some of these games. I couldn't do like a top 10. I couldn't do like the best 360 games of all time, because to be quite honest, the Xbox 360 has such a huge library, it was almost cumbersome. So the first game I'll be talking about is actually the first game I bought from a recommendation of a YouTuber. I was watching Pete Dorr back in like 2008, 2009, and he talked about this game right here, Shaddai. Now, Pete Dorr's always had a knack for really niche games, and this is definitely a niche title. It's gameplay-wise, it's very ambitious. It mixes a lot of hack and slash. It's got a little bit of platforming to it. It even has some racing elements to it, so there was a lot of put into this game. But what really sticks in my mind about this game is the art style. It is absolutely beautiful. It looks like it's hand painted, almost with a cell shading kind of style to it. I mean, I can't really describe what it looks like, and you know, it's one of those games that you could definitely test your TV on to see how vibrant the colors on your new television. I remember I had just gotten my Toshiba, and it was, you know, back in 2008, and this game, when I put it in, I was just completely blown away. It was so awesome. And this game's pretty cheap now, so if you guys are around GameStop, definitely check it out. Shaddai, really fun. Next up, for you guys that love Legend of Zelda but want like more of a mature kind of story, I cannot recommend enough Darksiders. Man, this was a great, fantastic THQ game where you controlled one of the four horsemen of the apocalypse, and I don't know what it was back then, but there was a lot of games that followed this, like trials and tribulations and betrayals with, you know, maybe Greek mythology or, you know, biblical type of things, and this is definitely one of those kind of games. But what really made me enjoy it was it did have that flair and exploration and dungeons that I loved about Zelda games, but it was just a little different. And I never got to play the sequel, but man, I enjoyed the original. Darksiders was just so much fun. And I love survival horror, and we had a couple of survival horror titles on the Xbox 360, but one that really sticks in my mind is the original Dead Space. Now, I'm not really that big into sci-fi, but I really enjoy what Dead Space had to offer. It had that alien feel to it, which I really liked. It had that pure feel of isolation and loneliness and survival that I love about these genres of games. And man, I love the fact that you could just dismember everything. That's how you killed these monsters. These necromorphs were just, you know, you shoot their legs and arms off. And I remember when I first got my 360 and I was on an Xbox Live party chat, my friend was telling me games to check out, and he was like, man, you have to get Dead Space. And I'm so glad I did, man. The sequel, just as good. Third one, not so much. And I cannot talk about Xbox 360 without mentioning this game right here, and I have a lot of memories with it, and that is Elder Scrolls Skyrim. Man, this was such a huge game 5 years ago. It's hard to believe this game's 5 years old now, but it hasn't really aged too well. I played it not too long ago, and I'm like, man, it looks kind of dated, but man, the storytelling to it was awesome. And you know, it didn't have online multiplayer, but I remember my friends and I would go on Xbox Live, and we'd just go in party chats, and all of us would be playing Skyrim and talking about what we were doing, and it felt like we were there, but we just couldn't meet up. But man, it was so much fun. And every time I play Skyrim or I hear the theme song, it also makes me think of endless hours in the recording studio with my old band making our second album, because that was around that time. And man, I remember it was November, it was cold, and you know, sitting in my room drinking coffee playing Skyrim. Good times. I want an Elder Scrolls 6. I really want another one. Next one, this is kind of a late bloomer game, because I actually didn't play this until around last year, and they just closed their servers back in March. and that is a Final Fantasy 11. Now, I made a video talking about Final Fantasy 11, my journey with it, but this was a game that pretty much I ended up finally playing after all these years with a conversation I had with my friend Amanda. She was really big into Final Fantasy 11. She wanted to pick it back up, and she hooked me up with this copy here, and we played for a couple of months. And man, I hate that I missed a lot of what was going on with this game, because even playing it later on, I could see how ambitious this game was and why so many people loved this Final Fantasy, and I absolutely loved it. It was so much fun, and it's kind of sad that the 360 servers are no longer open, or the PS2 servers. They actually closed the PS2 servers in March as well. So somewhere someone was playing Final Fantasy 11 on their PlayStation 2. It's crazy, but you can still play on the PC. So if you haven't played it yet, why not? Just try it out. That's all I can say. Of course, these two games. Yeah, these two games here I have to mention, and that is Blue Dragon and Lost Odyssey. Now, Lost Odyssey is the Final Fantasy 13 we should have had. This is an absolutely great Japanese RPG, and look at it, it came with like so many discs. It came with like 4 discs, and you know, it was by, you know, the original creators of Final Fantasy, and I loved it. I loved it. It's very emotional, and man, I cannot recommend this enough. And of course, Blue Dragon. I mean, when you take the art style of Akira Toriyama and you had the composer from Final Fantasy, man, you're going to have a good RPG. And I love the fact that the boss battles had Ian Gilligan from Deep Purple singing them. I was like, oh my gosh. It's not the best RPG I've ever played, but it's definitely very unique, and I definitely recommend it. You can get it for a good price as well. Now, the last game I'll be talking about, this one I do have a lot of memories with, and this is kind of a little bit more deep, and that is, of all games, Halo 4. Now, I've played Halo 1 through Reach, but Halo 4 was really something special. It came out at a certain point in my life. It came out around the time that I started doing YouTube, I started doing podcasting, and I was actually filming a midnight release for this, and I uploaded it on my YouTube channel. It was like my first big video. But a little bit behind the scenes, while I was filming this, my father actually got a really bad heart attack and stroke, and he was in hospital, and unfortunately he passed away. And you know, it was like one of those things that I was out there filming while my father was, you know, in the hospital, and I was just kind of like asking myself, I'm like, I almost didn't want to do it, but actually the last conversation I had with my father was talking about starting a YouTube channel and starting an audio podcast, and my father being so much into broadcasting and, you know, doing stuff in a news station, he absolutely loved it. So it was one of those points that I was just like, you know, he wouldn't want me to just sit at home and not do anything. He would want me to go out there and do something that makes me happy, and that's what I did. And also, the game itself really helped, you know, the months later. You know, this was a game I was able to play with all my friends and kind of had my mind off what was going on, you know, losing my father. And to this day, you know, Halo 4, it has a special place in my heart because of that. So this is definitely the last game I kind of wanted to close the 360 talk with. And you know, I'm not big into first-person shooters, but that game was the reason. It's one of the reasons why I love video games. It was definitely therapeutic and such a life-changing experience. But anyway, guys, I know I left so many games out of this Xbox 360 talk, but this is where I want you guys to come in. I want you guys to leave a comment below. Tell me some of your favorite Xbox 360 games, some highly recommendations. I'd love to play them, because right now this is the best time to buy PS3 and Xbox 360 games, because they are, you know, they're starting to go out and there's a lot of them. So, you know, places like GameStop's gonna be selling them super cheap. I mean, matter of fact, I bought not too long ago, I bought a bunch of 360 games for under $20, like a bunch of them. So anyway, guys, as always, thanks for watching, thanks for subscribing, and as always, happy gaming.
Can't get enough of Excess Gaming Podcast? Be sure to check out our audio podcast on podomag.com. You can also subscribe to us on iTunes. And if you have a YouTube channel or podcast you'd like to share, be sure to check us out on Facebook on our group page and join the community. As always, guys, thank you so much for all the support and happy gaming.